We are the Ewoks, spinning spirits from the forest glow.
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday on the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the vintage Star Wars Ewoks line. We're going to talk about all of the figures that were produced. We're going to talk about the cartoon show a little bit, vehicles, and we're also going to talk about what was not produced. All this great stuff coming up. Back in 1985, Kenner was trying to take one last stab at their greatest success, Star Wars, with droids and Ewoks. Today I'm talking about Ewoks. The biggest problem with this toy line, though, was it didn't even feel like Star Wars. It was not Star Wars. And that's why it didn't take off. That's why people didn't like the show. I'm sure there are some people that like the show, but not enough people liked it enough to buy the toys to get a second series of these. So this 6 in front of us is all they ever made. Now the cartoon itself was a very Saturday morning cartoon. It was kind of goofy. So was the droids also to a point. But I thought this was even goofier than the droids. There was a lot of slapstick comedy in it. It's very 80s, and there's a lot of other cartoons that were very similar to that. I don't see that it was that bad of a cartoon for the time, but it wasn't Star Wars. So the Ewoks cartoon reminds me of the Resistance. See, a lot of people didn't care for the Resistance cartoon, didn't buy the figures. They got clearanced out. I'm sure they plan to make other figures, another wave of them, whatever. They thought it was going to be as popular as Rebels. Now Rebels is highly popular. People are seeking out that stuff. Nobody wanted this. See, I find that the stuff that people don't want, decades down the road becomes the expensive stuff because there's not very much in existence, because it didn't make very much because it wasn't very popular. So the first figure I want to talk to you about is Wicket. Obviously, Wicket is one of the main characters in the cartoon. Really the only major tie from this whole cartoon to Star Wars. But the thing about it is, he doesn't look like the Wicket we know. He's kind of a cartoonized version, but this figure is the most sought after figure out of all of these in this line. Hey, he looks kind of cute. Let's have a look at a little closer at the figure. Yeah, I probably need to spend some time trying to clean the bubble. Cleaning the bubbles with, there's all kinds of sticker residue, and getting that off. That's actually pretty tricky, believe it or not, without damaging the bubble. So that's why I haven't really messed with it. And he comes with this little staff, which people are probably getting a loose one is almost impossible these days, is the way it seems for me. And then there's his coin, which is, it's not in there straight. Yeah, there's his coin. All right, so here is his card back, and you can see the 6 characters that we're going to look at on there. And down below this, it just kind of gets important. I'm going to show you some more pictures of that later, but they've already made the Ewok Village, and they've made the Ewok glider and the catapult, and then in Power of the Force line they made the battle wagon. So there's no actual vehicles that are branded in boxes for Ewoks. Just like the droids had vehicles branded in droids. Ewoks did not. Also, each one of these has all 6 figures listed, but it shows a little something about it, like Wicket is a friendly and inquisitive young Ewok who loves adventure. So this is going to be the same on the back of every card. Next, let's take a look at Logray. And so I actually don't know, is this the same Logray from the movies? Is he just older, a lot older? But anyway, this is a cool figure, and it's the only other Ewok good guy that was released. And so for it, it's kind of cool to have him. Nice card art with it. It looks like he's kind of a magician. And I do like the fact that these are gold coins versus the Power of the Force are silver. Now, it took me a while. I actually thought most Power of the Force were gold because of the yellowing of the bubbles. If you see them sealed, they always look gold. No, the yellowing of the bubbles caused that. So on the back, you see all the same stuff you saw before, exactly the same as Wicket. Next up in the set, we have the Duloc Shamon, and this guy here is his own different bright shade of green for whatever reason. And out of all the figures, I think he looks the coolest. My son said, "Hey, why do these guys look like the Grinch?" they kind of look like a combination of the Grinch and Who's from Whoville. But there he is. Card art showing him holding his staff. Here, let's get a zoom in on that staff of his. There's his coin. Next up, we have the Duloc Scout. Now, this guy here, he just looks so plain and boring. Seems like they gave us all these bad guys and only 2 good guys out of this set of 6 figures. And there's this card art. Let's kind of zoom in on this Scout coin. Now, if you're collecting loose, getting the coins is going to be really hard. I mean, the figures are already expensive, but yeah, getting the coins is tough. Next up on the agenda, we have a Lady Corniche, and this figure can still be found for a reasonable price, like $100, $150 on eBay, which is reasonable considering how loose they still command quite a bit of money. She doesn't look all that great in her picture there, does she? But that's that's the card art. Let's have a look at coin. It says Urga Duloc. Urga, the Lady Corniche. The last figure we're going to take a look at is King Corniche. Now the thing about this guy is he seems to be the most common figure, and his card art just shows who he is and all that. But let's look at his coin. Can I get that coin in there? It's kind of shifted a bit. There's his staff. So it actually does make a lot of sense that they made an Ewoks toy line. They already had a lot of playset, some vehicles that were already established from the movies. Let's take this playset, the Ewok Village. It was a really cool playset, and a lot of kids already had it from the Return of the Jedi movie. It had an elevator, a net, a chair for C-3PO, a drum, a fire pit that you could cook on, and this swinging ball kind of thing here. And so this was kind of fun, although I had it and I never had Ewoks on it. They also had the Ewok Combat Glider already available for the kids. They used this glider in the cartoon probably quite a bit. Just the little bit of the cartoon I've watched, I see the glider in it a few times. So it's definitely something they were leaning on to help sell the toy line and to help further sell these toys. Other things like the catapult, the Ewok Assault Catapult, already existed. It was already from the Return of the Jedi toy line, and so I'm sure they assumed you'd be able to use all this stuff. And in 1985, under the banner of the Power of the Force, they had the Ewok Battle Wagon. So now the Ewok Battle Wagon is still a really hard piece to come by because they didn't make very many. They didn't make very many of anything in the Power of the Force line. Now this is the first Power of the Force. Don't get it confused with 1995's Power of the Force 2. Completely different. But here's the thing that really gets me is that they didn't put this in an Ewoks box. This should have gone in an Ewoks box, but then again, was this even in the Ewoks cartoon? I don't know. The few episodes I saw, I didn't see this. So now, the unreleased Ewoks figures, there were supposed to be 6 more figures. They had made prototypes, test shots. So there's actually multiple sets of these floating around out there. I say multiple, maybe 6. I don't know exactly how many. No one truly knows exactly how many, but this had gotten so far into production that they actually made figures in the molds for mass production for a test shot or a first shot. Now that's theoretically. So here we are, starting with the upper left one. We have Bondo. Then next to him is Cheater? Is he a cheater? Cheater? I don't know the name. Okay, and then after that one, we have a Weishi. Is that it? Weishi? And then the bottom left there, so number 10 would be Moray. And then here, the bottom in the middle is Chief Chirpa. So I do want to point out here that they are bringing back some characters that we already had made from the movie, and they're making them in the cartoon, so that's where Chief Sherpa comes in. And then there's Poplu. And that one, of course, was a Power of the Force figure, and, well, also on the Return of Jedi card. Could you imagine trying to chase down 12 Ewoks figures instead of just 6? I sure hope you enjoyed having this look at the Ewoks toy line from 1985, vintage Kenner Ewoks. And I will tell you, a lot of people are scared to talk about price on YouTube for whatever reason. 6 years ago I bought these for $500. And nowadays they go for a lot more than that for a set. I mean, a complete set, I saw one go for like $2,000 or something. But the thing is that these are actually pretty rare simply because nobody wanted them. And so they're hard to find, but a lot of collectors don't seem to care about it. Like, subscribe, Titanium Hanger out.